One thing that I guess I forgot to make a video about here, which is kind of weird because the name of the book is Metadimensional. I'm talking about dimensions, multi-dimensionality, and fundamental dimensions, all that stuff. I didn't really address that. Uh, so so there are ways to talk about dimensions in a way that you know in advance that they don't exist. I'm telling, or that they are not actual elements. So, for example, if I'm talking about, say, the younger dimension of the party because of the dress code, that's just, I'm borrowing the word. I I can use it. It comes to denote the same meaning as the word style or whatever. Like, I can use the word dimension in a way that doesn't have anything to do with dimensions, and it obviously doesn't exist as a dimension. That thing is just an idea. And there are also, like, if I'm thinking, say, in the mathematics, you can find dimensions, but these aren't obviously these dimensions are well, let's say if you say xy, well, xy, that's just a convention. It's a format, a way to format the information and how to process it through functions, but there is no dimension as an element there. It's just, again, just something in my mind when I'm thinking about the mathematics of it. And even if so it exists in my mind, but I don't think it's out there. I don't think it's a thing that exists out there. Like, if I'm saying x y is a coordinate in 2 dimensions, I don't really think that the dimensions exist. And there's also, let's say, when I'm looking at the space that I'm in, I can see horizontal dimension and width dimension and depth dimensions. And while they seem very compelling and very convincing, I also know that the computer can generate the exact same thing, and it will look. It might look very convincing, but I know that there's no dimension there. There's nothing really there. The computer does some kind of manipulations on matrices of numbers or whatever, but using the GPU cores and all that stuff. But I know there's no dimension there. It's just, again, me interpreting it as a dimension, and so dimensions don't exist. So multidimensionality, if I'm talking about multidimensionality in that sense, I'm talking about, well, things that are just in my perception and they don't really exist, or they don't exist outside of my perception. And if my perception is wrong, such as, for example, if I'm looking at a video game and I'm not, let's say, using a headset, giving me like stereoscopic vision, and I fail to understand that's what I'm perceiving, then I can make a mistake and think that something that is clearly not a dimension is a dimension. So that kind of dimensions, there's no need to explain them. But then you need to ask, what about the substrate of reality? What about the thing that produces the thing that I perceive? Do dimensions exist there? And what can, like, how should I address this notion of dimensions? So if you didn't know better, you'd think something like this. Usually, if like you're thinking of physical dimensions that really are really out there, you'd think that it's not that the dimension exists as an element in itself. It is that there are elements, physical elements, and they express themselves in several dimensions. But the dimension itself isn't an element. That's how you'd think about it. That's like how most people think about it. They don't think of the 8 dimensions of height, width, depth as things that actually exist. They are in themselves. But that doesn't work. You see, if you think about what's really out there, the objective substrate of reality, the thing that produces the thing that I perceive as three-dimensional. Uh, let's say you have two elements that are expressing themselves in three dimensions, and that's like the intuitive way of thinking about it. That you have two elements, two boxes that are uh, expressing themselves in three dimensions. Well, the fact that they express themselves in three dimensions, that's fine. Like, I don't know what the substrate of that box is, the objective substrate. So that's all fine. But the problem is that they interact in space. So if they are both the two boxes, their substrate is independent. There's nothing connecting them. That it's just one element and another element, and all the things that produce one produce that one, and all the things that produce the other one are the other one. So these are all independent elements. So why should element A be able to affect element B? For example, how can element box A sit on top of box B? For that to be possible, then there's something that needs to be in the something of the box of box A needs to be of box B, just for them to be able to for them to have interactions, and so there has to be that thing, and the if you think about what is that thing, well, I guess you can say that's the horizontal dimension. I mean, of course, it's not the horizontal dimension. It could be the law of nature, a law of physics that makes it so. But still, effectively, you have an element there. You have to have an element, because if there is no element there, then in the substrate of reality, there will be nothing that would cause box A to be able to sit on top of box B. They simply would be independent, and nothing would make that their relation possible. Therefore, you call it a law of nature, call it a dimension, call it what you will, but it exists. It's an element. And now, so it's an element, and it's independent of the specifics of box A and box B. Now, the thing is, the specifics of box A and box B, if they are not basically just a manifestation of, let's say, if this was height, then this would be width or depth, then it is its own thing also, and also exists. Now, the question is, should the dimensions, that the thing that exists, that is like connecting the two boxes, be of a different stuff, like of a different type of stuff than the thing that is unique to the box? I mean, both of them needs to exist. The thing that connects the boxes and the boxes, insofar as they exist outside of perception. So, but is there anything different about them? And I think that, well, they are orthogonal. They are independent from each other. That much I know. But the only thing that, as far as I know, identifies the difference between them is my perception, is my experience. That's the thing that says that that this element that produces the box is different from the element that ensures the relation that box A can sit on top of box B. So, in short, I can't find a way to separate these things. They are all dimensions, or what I call them fundamental dimensions. They are not your intuitive notion of what a dimension is, but the type of stuff they are is all the same. And I would say the kind of stuff they are instances of existence. That's all I know.